My name is Joe Escobedo. I am based here in Singapore, originally from the US, but I have been in Asia for almost 20 years now and travel all over the world to teach folks. In addition to running a marketing and sales consultancy, I also teach at several universities. I'm an adjunct lecturer at the National University of Singapore, where I teach marketing strategy and innovation. I also teach a lot of AI when it comes to productivity, efficiency, scenario planning, as well as marketing and sales. Because we have a lot of client-facing sales folks on today's call, I'm going to keep it focused on that. And just as a heads up, if there's anything that you find in today's session might be helpful in selling it into your clients, happy to collaborate thereafter. Okay, so first off, thank you so much for filling out the form, telling me about your biggest challenges or roadblocks you face in your day-to-day work. So you look at the old way of selling, a lot of pray and spray, a lot of manual work, a lot of time-consuming things that really leads to a lot of burnout and maybe not the most efficient processes. So in today's session, I'm going to be talking about how to leverage AI to make it more specific to your role, focus on research, help you plan for your sessions better, and ultimately help you close more deals. Everything I'm talking about today is not theoretical. It is something that I have developed, I've done with my business, I've done with my clients across Asia Pacific. Everything you're seeing today, from the examples to the prompts, is something that's been tested and proven. And that's what I'll be sharing with you over the next 20 minutes or so. If you have any questions, do let me know. I want this to be interactive as well too. So feel free to turn on your mic. I won't be able to see your chat at the moment because I have my screen up, but if you have a question, just let me know.
Joe, it's the slides are slightly blurry. I think it may just be a network issue or something.
Okay, let me try again.
They did get better for a quick moment, but
let's see. Is this any better?
Just waiting for it to come up.
Okay. Let me try. Yeah, Teams is usually a little bit fickle sometimes. Let me know if you're able to see it.
No, still waiting to come up. It says click to exit something. Okay, it's come up now, but completely blurry.
Okay. How about now? Still blurry.
Still blurry, yeah.
Interesting, still no. I can...
We can why don't we just try and get through, and then you can see if you're able to send these to us afterwards.
I can send a snapshot of some of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be fine. It's more the conversation, right? So it's more you giving us the information.
Yes. So once again, I'll give you some of the prompts because I think that is where the slides will come in handy. But in terms of today's talk, I want to talk about precision targeting, tailored messaging, and as well as pipeline acceleration. So the first thing that is really challenging, at least for me when it comes to manual work, is prospecting and finding the right roles, right? There's tons of different people across Asia Pacific or your region, wherever you're working, and it's always challenging to find the right people. Thankfully, things have changed. AI has come into place and it's made the process a lot more easier. So there are different tools that are publicly available, and everything I'm sharing today, there is a free version. That's the great thing. I happen to use ChatGPT, but in this case, I'm going to use Perplexity, which is a little bit better when it comes to crawling the web and pulling out specific sources. So in this case, I'm going to give it a specific prompt. I'm going to say, act as a sales researcher, create a table of 15 L&D, HR, or business heads in whatever region. I'm going to say Asia Pacific. And then I can put the title, the company, the location, and I want to request a URL and something recently they've spoken about talent development. So what I've asked it to do is crawl the web. In this case, I'm going to focus on LinkedIn. Could be another platform that's more popular in your neck of the woods, or you can even pull from media. But in this case, I'm going to keep it very granular because I want LinkedIn profiles. It's easier for me to reach out to those people. You have it afterwards. it gives you a list of different columns. So it has the name, the company, the location, the LinkedIn URL, and the last column, it specifies a recent talent development. So in this case, one of them launched a new leadership module focused on digital transformation for directors in the organization. So once again, this saves a massive amount of time. Instead of going through LinkedIn, manually going in and typing in keywords, you basically go into Perplexity, plug and play with this prompt, which I'll share with you a template, and it'll spit out, once again, everything I've talked about, including the LinkedIn URL, which you can automatically go in there and check a specific role. So super helpful. It saves me a ton of time when it comes to building my list. Another thing I can do is I can better understand my buyer priorities. Now, I try to speak as many people as possible. You're having meetings and you're trying to unearth what are the biggest challenges people are having. A lot of times we're not in specific roles. For example, I'm not specifically in learning development, although I work with them on a regular basis. So what I could do is go back to AI and have it map out specific things that I would want to know. So I want to know what are their top KPIs, what are their priorities from 2025, so pulling from different media, forums, different resources online. And I wanted to give me something sample questions I can bring up in a meeting or in an email. So basically it's giving me my talking points, which we're then going to plug in a little bit later when it comes to our personalized messages and emails that we're doing. So once again, I have a mega prompt here. I can pick from specific media, industry reports, analyst reports, company blogs, forums, different communities, social platforms. I can pull from all of this and give me, once again, the key challenges, top 3 challenges, the KPIs. Another thing that I add in here, which is quite unique, is the emotional triggers, right? Because we talk about the rational side of selling. I need to hit this KPI. What I also ask AI to do is to empathize with that person. Talk about, okay, what happens if they don't hit their KPIs? What's the emotional trigger? What are the things that is going to weigh on them, keep them up at night? So I add the rational and logical and I put them together and I ask AI to develop that as part of my messaging later on. So I can build it by a specific profile. I can build it by a specific persona. And it just helps me understand the person a lot better because it's pulling from multiple sources like social media, and it's giving me the most robust information. Once again, I have a prompt here, which I'm not going to go through in too much detail, but essentially it says, you are a market researcher. Summarize the top 3 priorities for blank job title in blank region with supporting examples, stats from credible sources. Bonus tip here is I usually put in brackets the credible sources because every region, every market will have its own specific media, its own specific analyst. So I just put that in brackets because I wanted to pull from that information. If I don't do that, then it's going to pull from everything out of the web. So if I'm in Singapore, it's going to pull from reports from the US or pull from Europe, and that may not be relevant to my specific market. So that's a bonus tip, is to put in brackets the specific media, and then you can ask it to identify similar media. So I usually plug in maybe 2 or 3 specific sources and then say, okay, find similar sources, and it'll give you a much more precise answer. Otherwise, it's going to pull from all over the web. So here it gives me a sample output for L&D heads based in Asia Pacific. It gives me specific stats that I can use as a hook in my proposals, my outreach messages that you guys will have in an instant. So it does all the legwork for you. You just have to put in this key prompt in here, which I'll share with you after the session. Any questions so far? If not, I'm going to quickly move on to the personalized outreach. Maybe I can ask someone your current process when it comes to your outreach messages. How are you currently crafting them? I'm going to pick on someone. Rohit, I saw you earlier because I know you're here. What is your process currently for coming up with your outreach or your messages? Neha, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, awesome. So Neha, are you sending out outreach messages?
Yes. So what I do is I reach out to educators, new educators that I think would be a good fit for our educator pool. I reach out to them via LinkedIn and check their interest if they are interested in connecting, and thereafter take the conversation up in a chat if they respond and take it ahead.
Wonderful. So you're focusing on the educator network, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Is anyone here focused on a potential client or prospect outreach? Anyone here doing that?
Yeah. Hey, hi, Joe. This is Chetna, and I'm a part of solutioning team with Emeritus.
Hi, Shetna.
Yeah. So we create immersion journeys for our clients. And sometimes we're trying to reach out we have certain companies who listed for any learning journeys, etc. So we try and reach out to those companies for company visits, their interest, if they would want to host us. Sometimes these are guest faculties that we're trying to reach out. These could be industry leaders that we're trying to reach for specific sessions. That's what I do. My approach that I follow is I try and see what could be the synergy between our intention versus what's the value add for them, try to list it down, and then probably create an outreach and send it to them. So that's usually what I follow.
Okay, perfect. I love that you're focusing on what's in it for them. So I actually have that question. I don't have it in this specific prompt, but in the one I use, which I can share with you, is I ask it the question, when you're crafting the message, what's in it for them? And for me, I went ahead and I've uploaded, I have a list of 100 psychological triggers. Now, these are cognitive biases and triggers that help us make decisions on autopilot. So I combine the question, what's in it for them? And then I add these psychological triggers into my messaging to make it that much more convincing. So I love that you're, once again, factoring in what's in it for them. I explicitly put it into my prompts as well as the psychological triggers. Another thing I do is, let's say that, once again, combining the research that we've done, because we're able to pull out things from the news, which I'll show you in a little bit, you can cite specific examples about what's going on in their company, about their department, or even their LinkedIn post. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini can now pull from LinkedIn post and then give you the information from there. So what I try to do is to combine that with a case study. So it's usually a one-liner to make it relevant. So in this case, for those folks who are in Singapore or in Southeast Asia, you may be familiar with a bank called UOB. So basically what I've done here is I pulled out a mini one-liner case study on something we've done with UOB, right? So it's helped to reduce drop-offs by 42%. What I can then do with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever is create a lookalike audience. So I can say, okay, here are the top 3 clients I'm working for in financial services. Find 20 different lookalike companies. Why am I doing this? Because I want to be able to leverage that specific proof point or that specific example that I'm using to make it that much more attractive when I'm reaching out to prospects. Because oftentimes what I found, and this is more of a psychological hack, is when you've worked with their partners or you've worked with their peers or competitors, there's a light bulb and they say, oh, I want to find out what you've done. So I'm combining a lot of the principles I've talked about, the what's in it for them, the cognitive biases / psychological triggers, as well as a rational proof point. In this case, it is a company that we work with and a specific result that we achieved with them. And I focus on the tonality. So I said, don't make it sound like it's a sales message, make it sound like it's coming from a peer. That's another hack that I use. So once again, if it's L&D director, messaging to L&D director, I said, make it sound like it's coming from a colleague, right? It's got to be warm, friendly, and obviously no hard selling. So I put that in the tonality, and then I put specific questions or call to actions that I've worked with in the past. So it's like a Frankenstein where I'm putting all of these pieces together to create the perfect AI prompt. And that's what I've done here in this example, which I can share with you guys later on. And this has worked incredibly well. I think in terms of my conversion rates, it's gone through the roof. And the best thing about it, it takes me about 5 to 10 seconds once I have the information to plug it into the prompt. Now, obviously, it's taken me some time to build out this prompt because I've had to go back and forth, multiple iterations to really refine it. But now that I've spent the hours doing that, I'm able to plug and play the information, and it makes it much more faster. And once again, conversion rates have been significantly higher. So I use it for reaching out to new prospects, for follow-ups, as well as for the quote unquote, the breakup emails. So going back to that entire sales process, I've used it, and once again, I've seen the conversion rates go up exponentially. So once again, it's taken me a lot of time to develop these, and that's why I'm happy to share them with you. Here's just a mini example. It says, write a 75-word LinkedIn message to blank job title at blank company about blank challenge, referencing a relevant case study with the end and ending with a no pressure invitation to share best practices. So my approach when I'm doing outreach is not necessarily go for the jugular, right? It's, hey, I found a resource, or I have this stat, or have this report, or something we've done. Would you like me to share it with you? So I've tailored it in a way where it increases the likelihood that they're able to reply to me. And that's why it works so well. All right. Any questions so far? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the research and updates portion.
I have one, Joe.
Please.
So you did mention how we can make the prompt more efficient, right? So is there a set structure to what key elements we should add in that prompt to make it more effective rather than generic prompt?
Yes. So I will give you a template that I have created, which took me hours to do, but it's essentially a template that you can just plug and play. You can add in an industry, company, or challenge, and then it'll fill it in based on what I've designed it to do. So I can give you that after this session. My pleasure. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to share another thing that I do to stay up to date on particular industries. Okay. So another thing I do every morning, and it takes me about 5 minutes to do this. Prior to this, I was going through Google News. I was going through all the industry forums and reports and so on, trying to give me the latest news and updates. Now what I've done is I literally spend 5 minutes every morning. I plug in this prompt that I've created that helps me pull the latest news on a particular industry, a particular market, and it gives me a breakdown of what's going on, gives me the sources, and it mentions why it matters to my organization. So obviously this will be dependent on your specific role, but it will figure it out and it'll give you a summary in terms of how this is important for you, whether you're trying to find educators or you're trying to find prospects. Because the great thing about ChatGPT and all the platforms now is you can get real-time information, right? So you can get customized news just for you. So I do that. I plug in things like company news, industry news, and I have these daily reports that are basically sent out to me. Bite-sized bullet points. I know exactly what to do. If I see an opportunity, then I will go out and reach out to that person. It happens in real time. Another thing that I do sometimes is, let's say I'm on the go and I don't have a chance to listen to it or read it. I will plug it into Notebook LM. Have you guys played around with Notebook LM at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Notebook LM is an amazing tool that allows you to analyze things very quickly. In terms of analysis, whether you're looking at your list of contacts, I think Notebook LM is one of the best, if not the best, because ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude still tend to hallucinate just a bit. They're getting better, but this pulls from the specific sources. So let's see if I can create a new one. So the great thing about this is if I'm trying to learn about a particular thing, so for example, I can pull from a YouTube video, I can pull from multiple YouTube videos. So let's say I'm quickly trying to find out about banking news or whatever. I can copy and paste these into it. I can copy and paste websites, and it will analyze all the prospect websites in here. I can upload Google Slides, Docs, and the cool thing about this is it gives me a bunch of different things. So I'm not going to do it here, but it will create a podcast you could listen to. And I do this all the time when I'm trying to prepare for a meeting, right? I will go in and I will listen to a podcast that it has customly created based on those sources. As me, I'm constantly on the go, whether I'm waiting for the taxi or I'm walking to my kid's school, and I'm listening to the latest news. I'm listening to a report on the go that's customized using AI. And I can tailor it and I say, let's only focus on this portion. And it makes it super precise. So instead of staying up to date, instead of reading multiple books, multiple websites, and so on, I get a 10 to 15 minute podcast that I can just listen to on the go. So once again, I can do an entire session on Notebook LM and how it works, but it is super cool when it comes to educational, once again, building out those podcasts, or even analyzing data. Like I said, I think Notebook LM is still the best that I've come across. All right, we've got 5 more minutes. I realize I had a bunch of information in here. What I will do, though, have you guys heard of a tool called Gamma? Gamma.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you guys are using
Yes, we
Gamma.
are.
Okay, perfect. That was once another tool that I wasn't sure if you guys were using.
I
Okay.
don't know if we're using it, Joe. I'm not using it.
Oh,
Is
okay.
anyone else using it?
Yes, it's essentially a very useful tool, Joey, for making presentations, etc.
Okay.
And there's a lot more to it as well.
That's why I'm not
Yes.
using it then.
Yeah, so if you're creating any kind of, I mean, I obviously use it because you can see all the stuff that I teach is in here. But if you're using it for proposals as well too, what I've done is I've created a template for proposals, which I think I have somewhere at the bottom here. Yeah, so I have a sample structure for creating proposals. And so for me, what I used to do is manually go in and fill it out. And now what I'll do is work with ChatGPT, plug in this template on things that I think are important for a proposal, have it spit it out, give me the slides. Now, the thing with most of the platforms is not very good when it comes to presentation building. So I will use Gamma and then plug it, copy and paste that in here. But you could also use it for a bunch of different things. You could use it for social posts. You could use it for carousels. You could build websites, documents, and a bunch of different stuff. So once again, I could do an entire session just on Gamma, but it helps me save a massive amount of time as someone who's building a lot of decks and presentations for my classes, but also for the client work that I do. Gamma is GAMMA.app.
Sounds amazing.
Yes, it once again save you a massive amount of time. There is a free version which I have leveraged to the fullest. I eventually bought the paid one, but yes, that tool itself has saved me weeks of my life every year.
Awesome.
So once again, I have some more stuff. I know we're tight on time. If we have maybe one or two questions before we wrap things up. Otherwise, once again, I will share my LinkedIn. I will share my email address. And I can answer any questions thereafter that.
Joe, automation, there is another tool called Make, right? How is that, in comparison to Gamma?
So Make is good when you're building workflows. Now, I'd argue that with the new AI agent with ChatGPT, it replaced Make to some extent because Make forces you to create these workflows like plug and play things. So you have, I want it to check this news, then send me an email with this and this, right? So you have to add the pieces in there. And I can share a video of how you can do it. It's super helpful if you want to go very advanced, but also it takes a lot of time. So for most folks, I don't recommend that. I think with the new free features with ChatGPT, which is called agent mode, it will do that process by itself. So you just input the workflow in there, and then on the back end, it has the agent building it out there for you. So I think Make NA8 is another one if you want to get super sophisticated. But I'd argue that it's probably not for most of the folks that were on here today. But great question, by the way.
Thanks, Joe. I've also been testing out Assista for automation. So that's another tool.
Yes. Can I ask how you're using it?
So I'm basically using to scroll through the LinkedIn plus the Reddits, right? And then look at the AI news or news pertaining to L&D, and then use that to build posts that I later want to either post or explore. So even from a note taking plus creating posts on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay. No, it sounds like a great tool. I'm not sure if it's paid or not, but I'd also recommend if you haven't played around with Perplexity and some of the features in there, that's really good when it comes to building it out.
Yes. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. Any questions? Otherwise, I realize we're right on time. If not, I would like to thank Joey, Neha, and everyone for setting this thing up today. And it's great to meet everyone. Hopefully, I will be able to collaborate with you more. As mentioned, that is my link, or I think it's my LinkedIn. I will send my email as well. If you have any questions, do let me know, and I'm happy to stay in touch.
Thanks, Joe. That was really good. If you can get to the slides or some of the slides, that would be great, just for us internally.
Yes, absolutely. I'll send them over.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank
you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.